My sister Rebecca always got everything she wanted. Growing up, she was the star athlete, the honor student, the one who made our parents beam with pride. I was just Marcus, the quiet kid who loved computers and stayed in his room. Nobody really noticed me, and honestly I was fine with that. I built my own world online, learning to code while Rebecca won trophies. Our parents hung her awards all over the living room walls. My achievements stayed on my computer screen where nobody looked. But I never complained. I just kept learning, kept building, kept improving. By the time I turned 16, I could hack into almost anything. Not that I ever told anyone. After high school, Rebecca went to a fancy business school on a full scholarship. Everyone celebrated like she'd won the lottery. I went to community college for computer science and worked part-time at a tech repair shop. Nobody threw me a party. Rebecca graduated top of her class and landed a job at Meridian Finances, a big investment firm downtown. She started as a junior analyst but climbed fast. Within 3 years, she was making 6 figures and never let anyone forget it. Meanwhile, I finished my degree quietly and started doing freelance cybersecurity work. The money was decent, but I worked from home. To my family, that meant I wasn't really working at all. I'd been doing cybersecurity consulting for 5 years when things got interesting. Companies would hire me to test their systems, find weaknesses, and fix them before real hackers could cause damage. I was good at it, really good. My client list included banks, hospitals, and even government agencies. But I never bragged about it at family dinners. I'd show up, eat quietly, and leave early while Rebecca talked about her latest promotion. She just made vice president at Meridian. Mom cried happy tears. Dad bought champagne. I smiled and congratulated her like always. What nobody knew was that I'd been tracking some suspicious activity in the financial sector for months. Through my work, I'd noticed patterns. Certain companies were moving money in ways that didn't make sense. Offshore accounts, shell companies, sudden transfers right before audits. It was subtle, but it was there. I started digging deeper because that's what I do. I collect information like some people collect stamps. One name kept appearing in my research. Meridian Finances. Rebecca's company. At first, I thought it was just aggressive investing, maybe some gray area stuff. But the more I looked, the worse it got. Meridian was running a scheme, using client money for risky investments while reporting fake profits. They'd been doing it for almost 2 years. I created an encrypted folder with all my findings. I didn't know what to do with it yet. In September, I finished a major contract 3 months early. The client was so happy they paid me a huge bonus. I decided to take some time off, maybe a month or 2, before looking for the next project. I'd saved plenty of money and honestly needed a break. But when I told my family I was between jobs, they acted like I'd announced I was homeless. Mom's face fell. Dad asked if I needed money in that careful voice people use when they're embarrassed for you. Rebecca just smirked. She'd been waiting for this moment her whole life. The moment when she could finally prove she was better than me in a way everyone could see and measure. November arrived cold and gray. Mom called to remind me about Thanksgiving dinner like she did every year. "Rebecca's bringing her boyfriend," she said excitedly. "He's a lawyer. You should dress nice, Marcus." Promised I would. The days leading up to Thanksgiving, I kept working on my research into Meridian. What I'd found was worse than I thought. They weren't just hiding bad investments. They were creating fake accounts, forging documents, and stealing millions from their clients. It was a full-scale fraud operation. And Rebecca's signature was on dozens of documents. She was either involved or incredibly careless. Either way, her career was built on a foundation of lies. The company would collapse eventually. It was just math. Thanksgiving dinner started normally enough. The house smelled like turkey and cinnamon. Family members crowded around the table, passing dishes and making small talk. Rebecca arrived late in a designer dress with her boyfriend Chad attached to her arm. She made sure everyone noticed her new watch. "Early Christmas present to myself," she announced. I sat at the far end of the table in my regular jeans and sweater. Uncle Tom asked what I was up to these days. "Taking some time off between projects," I said simply. Rebecca's eyes lit up like she'd been waiting for this exact moment. She set down her fork carefully and cleared her throat. The room got quiet. "At least I actually contribute to this family," Rebecca said loudly. Her voice carried that special tone she used when she wanted everyone to pay attention. She looked right at me with a smile that wasn't really a smile. I mean, some of us work hard and build careers while others just take breaks whenever they feel like it. The table went silent. I saw Dad glance at Mom. Aunt Linda looked down at her plate. Then Uncle Tom nodded slowly. "Rebecca's right," he said. "Stability matters." Mom added softly, "We just worry about you, Marcus." One by one they all nodded. Every single person at that table agreed with Rebecca. I sat there feeling my face burn. But I didn't argue. I just smiled and said nothing. I left right after dessert. The drive home took 40 minutes, and I spent every minute replaying that dinner in my head. The way Rebecca had smiled. The way everyone had nodded. The way nobody had defended me or even asked what I actually did for work. They saw me as the family failure. The one who couldn't get his life together. Meanwhile, they celebrated Rebecca, who'd built her success on fraud and lies. When I got home, I sat at my computer and opened the encrypted folder. Had everything. Bank records, emails, forged documents, fake accounts. Everything needed to prove Meridian Finances was running a massive scam. I could send it to the authorities right now. But I didn't. Not yet. I spent the next week digging even deeper. I wanted to be absolutely sure about everything before I made any moves. I traced money through 7 different countries. I found the real accounts behind the fake ones. I discovered that Meridian's CEO had been planning his escape for months, moving money to private accounts in places without extradition treaties. Rebecca's name appeared on more documents than I'd originally thought. She'd approved transfers, signed off on fake reports, and attended meetings where they'd planned the whole scheme. Either she knew exactly what was happening, or she was the most careless VP in history. I documented everything with timestamps and sources. It was airtight. Nobody could dispute this evidence. On December 10th, I sent everything to the Securities and Exchange Commission through an encrypted, anonymous tip line I'd used before for other cases. I included a detailed summary explaining the scheme, where to look, and what they'd find. I sent copies to the FBI's Financial Crimes Division and to 3 major newspapers. All anonymously. All untraceable. Then I waited. These things take time. Investigations move slowly, especially when they involve big companies with expensive lawyers. I knew it might be weeks or even months before anything happened. I went about my life normally, started looking at new contracts, even went to my parents' house for Sunday dinner. Rebecca was there, bragging about her Christmas bonus. I just smiled. 3 weeks after Thanksgiving, my phone rang at 11 p.m. on a Tuesday. Rebecca's name flashed on the screen. We never called each other, maybe twice a year at most. I almost didn't answer. "Marcus." Her voice was shaking. "Marcus, I need help." She was crying, actually sobbing. I'd never heard Rebecca cry before. Not when she broke her arm in high school. Not when her first boyfriend dumped her, never. "What's wrong?" I asked, keeping my voice neutral. "It's Meridian," she choked out. "The FBI raided our offices today. They seized everything. They're saying the company's bankrupt. They're saying we committed fraud. I'm going to lose my job, Marcus. I might go to jail." I let the silence stretch for a few seconds. "That's terrible, Rebecca. I'm so sorry." My voice sounded genuinely concerned because I'd practiced. "Do you have a lawyer?" She sobbed harder. "I can't afford one. Not the kind I need. Everything's frozen. My accounts, my bonus, everything. The company's completely bankrupt. Mom and Dad are freaking out. Everyone's freaking out. Marcus, I'm scared." Part of me felt bad. She was my sister after all. But then I remembered Thanksgiving dinner. That smile on her face. Everyone nodding in agreement. At least I actually contribute to this family. "What do you need from me?" I asked quietly. "I don't know," she cried. I don't know what to do." Mom called an emergency family meeting the next day. Everyone gathered in my parents' living room looking worried and confused. Rebecca sat on the couch with red eyes and messy hair, nothing like her usual perfect appearance. Dad paced back and forth. Uncle Tom kept checking his phone for news updates. "This is a disaster," Mom said, wringing her hands. "Rebecca might lose everything." "They're saying it was a massive fraud," Dad added. "One of the biggest financial scandals in years." I sat in the same chair I'd sat in during Thanksgiving, watching everyone panic. "Did you know what the company was doing?" Uncle Tom asked Rebecca directly. She shook her head quickly. "No. I swear I didn't know. I just did what my bosses told me to do." "But your signature is on documents," Aunt Linda said gently. "That's what the news is reporting." Rebecca's face crumbled. "They made me sign things. I thought it was normal business. I trusted them." I studied her carefully. Was she lying? Or had she really been that blind? Maybe it didn't matter anymore. The damage was done either way. "What about savings?" Ed asked. "Investments. Anything they can't freeze." "Everything's in company stock," Rebecca whispered. "It's all worthless now." The room fell silent. Rebecca, who'd built her entire identity around being successful and contributing, had nothing. She'd lost everything in one day. Mom started crying. Dad looked 10 years older. And I sat there thinking about karma and justice and whether this was what I really wanted. After everyone left, I stayed behind. Rebecca was still on the couch, staring at nothing. "Can I ask you something?" I said quietly. She looked up with empty eyes. "What?" "At Thanksgiving, did you mean what you said? About me not contributing?" She blinked slowly. "Marcus, I'm about to lose everything. Do we really need to talk about that now?" "Yeah," I said. "We do." She sighed deeply. "I was showing off. Chad was there and I wanted to look good. You're always so quiet and weird and it was easy. I'm sorry, okay?" "Sorry." "Is that what you want to hear?" It wasn't actually. I wanted her to understand how much it had hurt. But she never would. "I can help you," I said instead. Rebecca's head snapped up. "What? How?" "I do cybersecurity consulting," I explained. "I've worked with lawyers and investigators on cases like this before. I know people who might take your case, people who owe me favors." It was partly true. I did know lawyers. I just wasn't planning to call them. Not yet. "Why would you help me?" she asked suspiciously. "After what I said." "Because you're my sister," I said simply. "And because I'm not the person you think I am." She started crying again, but different this time. Grateful tears instead of scared ones. "Thank you. Thank you so much, Marcus. I don't deserve this." She was right. I didn't. But I wasn't doing it for her. I was doing it to prove a point. Over the next 2 weeks, the Meridian scandal dominated the news. The FBI arrested the CEO and 3 other executives. Investigators found evidence of fraud going back 5 years. Hundreds of clients had lost their life savings. It was worse than anyone had imagined. Rebecca's name appeared in several articles as one of the VPs under investigation. She wasn't charged with anything yet, but the media treated her like a criminal anyway. She lost her apartment because she couldn't pay rent. She moved back in with our parents. Her boyfriend Chad disappeared the day after the raid. Nobody was surprised. I watched it all unfold from my quiet house, tracking every development. The anonymous tip I'd sent had started everything. I met with Rebecca twice a week to help her prepare for potential questioning. I explained what investigators would look for, what kind of evidence could prove innocence or guilt. I made her walk through every document she'd signed, every meeting she'd attended. "Did you ever question the numbers?" I asked during one session. She shook her head. "I trusted my bosses. They said everything was legal. I was just doing my job." "That's not going to be a good enough answer," I told her. "You were a VP. You had responsibility." Her face went pale. "Am I going to jail, Marcus?" "I don't know," I said honestly. "It depends on what you actually knew." And that was the question, wasn't it? What had she really known? The investigators were thorough. They interviewed everyone, examined every document, followed every money trail. Slowly the truth came out. Rebecca had been careless but not criminal. She'd signed documents without reading them carefully. She'd trusted her bosses when she shouldn't have. She'd been greedy for promotions and bonuses and hadn't asked the right questions. But she hadn't known about the fraud. The evidence showed she'd been used. A pretty face with an impressive title to make the company look legitimate. Other executives had known. They'd planned it. Rebecca had just been too ambitious and too trusting to see what was happening around her. In February, the FBI announced she wouldn't face charges. She was a victim too, they said. Just not a sympathetic one. Rebecca got a job at a small accounting firm making a third of her old salary. She moved into a tiny apartment with a roommate. Her designer clothes stayed in boxes because she had nowhere to wear them. The family still treated her like the golden child, but the shine had worn off. She was damaged goods now, tainted by scandal. Meanwhile, I signed a new contract worth twice what I'd made before. A major tech company wanted me to overhaul their entire security system. I'd be busy for at least a year. Mom mentioned it at Sunday dinner in passing. "That's nice, dear," she said. Rebecca didn't even look up from her plate. Nobody asked for details. I was still just Marcus, the quiet one with a computer job they didn't understand. One evening in March, Rebecca showed up at my house unannounced. I opened the door to find her standing there in old jeans and a sweatshirt, looking nothing like the polished VP from Thanksgiving. "Can I come in?" she asked. I stepped aside. She walked into my living room and looked around at my equipment, the multiple monitors, the servers humming quietly in the corner. "I never asked what you actually do," she said. "You test computer security," I explained. "Companies hire me to find weaknesses in their systems before hackers do." "That's it?" she asked. "That's what you do?" "Basically, yes." She sat down on my couch. "I've been thinking about something." "What?" I asked, though I already knew. "It's too much of a coincidence." "The timing," Rebecca said slowly. "The investigation started right after Thanksgiving. Someone sent the SEC an anonymous tip with detailed evidence. Evidence that would have taken months to gather. Evidence that someone with serious computer skills could find." Kept my face neutral. "Lots of people have computer skills, Rebecca. But not lots of people had a reason to want Meridian investigated right then," she continued. "Not lots of people had just been humiliated at a family dinner by a VP from that exact company." We stared at each other. "You're paranoid," I said. "You've been through trauma. You're looking for patterns that aren't there." "Am I?" she asked. "Tell me honestly, Marcus. Did you do it? Did you destroy my life because I said something mean at Thanksgiving?" Could have lied. I probably should have lied. But I was tired of being invisible, tired of being underestimated, tired of staying quiet. "I didn't destroy your life," I said calmly. "Your company did that by committing fraud. Your bosses did that by using you as a shield. You did that by being too ambitious to ask questions." "But you reported them," she whispered. "I sent information to the proper authorities about a criminal enterprise," I corrected. Information I'd already gathered weeks before Thanksgiving as part of my regular work monitoring financial sector threats. What they did with that information was up to them. "Why?" Her voice broke. "Why would you do that to me?" "I didn't do it to you, Rebecca. I did it because it was right. The fact that you got caught in the consequences is just karma." Rebecca left without another word. She didn't tell our parents. She didn't tell anyone. What could she say? That her brother had reported her company for crimes they actually committed. That made him the hero, not the villain. Months passed. Life moved on. Rebecca slowly rebuilt at her new job. She was quieter now, humbler. She never bragged at family dinners anymore. Our parents started asking me more questions about my work. They didn't really understand it, but they tried. That was new. As for me, I kept doing what I'd always done. Finding problems, fixing them, protecting people from threats they couldn't see. Nobody throws me parades. Nobody hangs my achievements on their walls. But I contribute. I always have. At least now I know that even if my family never fully understands what I do, I understand it. And sometimes that's enough.